Hello everybody, I'm Mr. Schmidt and welcome back to another math video. Today we're going to be talking about percent of a number, and before we start I want to make sure that you recognize what I have here on the left of the screen, which is basically that percents can be written as three different versions of the same number. For example, the first number here is 25%, which can be written as the decimal 25 hundredths. Or a fraction, 25 hundredths, simplified down to 1/4. These are all the same number. One of these numbers is not more correct than the other. If you have not seen being a fraction being written this way or a percent being written this way, make sure you talk to your teacher right away, because this video is going to assume that you have seen converting fractions, decimals, and percents like this. Okay? Let's get started. Before we start our first example, I want to talk about what percent of means when we're in mathematics. Now, in most problems, percent of is going to mean multiply. Now, this is not true 100% of the time, but it is true most of the time. That for the sake of this video and for the next few sections, if you see percent of, that keyword of, frequently means multiply. Now, we can show that's true by the example here on the left, which is a half of, keyword, 8. Well, hopefully, at this point in your math career, you know that half of something is dividing it into two equal groups. Dividing 8 into two equal groups gives us an answer of 4. However, if we do a half times 8 wholes, or 8 over 1, we end up getting 8 halves, or 4, showing us that of means multiply. Now, if we took this as a percentage, the percent that we'd be looking at here would be 50%, because 50% is the same thing as a half. And if I did 50% times 8, I should get the same answer of 4. Now, the way that we multiply percentages times whole numbers is we convert the percent to either a fraction, which we've already done, or a decimal. Okay, the percent 50% is converted to the decimal 50 hundredths, and we take that times the whole number 8. The way that I've always taught my students is that you count the number of digits behind the decimal total. In this problem, it is 2 total digits behind the decimal. And now we just multiply by like normal. 8 times 0 gives us 0 in the ones place. 5 times 8 gives us 40 in the tens place, or a total of 400. We insert 2 digits behind the decimal point, giving us an answer of 4, which is exactly what we got earlier. Okay? Hopefully that was step 1 of proving percent of frequently means multiply. Now let's do another example here on the right. It's slightly tougher, but not a ton. 3/4 of 12. Now, if we want to do this as a percent times a number, instead of the fraction, we need to know that 3/4 is the same as 75% of frequently means multiply. In these percent problems, it definitely does. And we now just multiply this just like we did before. 75% becomes 75 hundredths. 12 is normal. We take 2 total digits behind the decimal point, and we can ignore the decimal till the very end, and we just multiply. And I'm going to do this a little bit quickly here just to save us time. And I get 900. 2 digits behind the decimal goes right there, giving us an answer of 9 for this problem. So what I want you to get from this set of problems is that percent of almost always means multiply. For our next problems, we're going to get a little bit harder, okay? So we're going to do 60% times 200, okay? Now, in this problem, 60% is already written as a percent, so we need to convert it to a decimal. In our case, that would be 60 hundredths. And we take that times, because of frequently means multiply, 200. Now, I'm going to put the 200 on top because I have always liked having the higher number of digits on the top of my multiplying algorithm, but it is correct both ways. And we'll do 2 digits behind the decimal point, and we're going to multiply just like we did last time. Now, once again, I'm going a little bit quickly through the multiplication here because I'm assuming you've done lots of multiplying in your life. Okay? 2 digits need to be behind the decimal point, which puts us right here, which means that 60% of 200 is equal to 120. And what I always like to do at this point is step back and say, does my answer make sense? 60% is close to half. Okay? Half of 200 would be 100. So I need my answer to be slightly greater than 50%. 120 is slightly greater than 100. Tells me that I believe I have the correct answer here. Let's do one more. I want you to try this one on your own. There will be a decimal in your final answer. What we are going to do for this one is, once again, we are going to do 35% as a decimal, which is 35 hundredths. And we are going to multiply it times 150. Again, I'm going to put 150 on the top just because I like having a higher number of digits on the top of this algorithm, but it is correct both ways. And 2 digits behind the decimal. I multiply. And I multiply the second digit. And I now add up my answers. And I reinsert my decimal point. I need 2 digits behind it. So I have 52 5/10 as my answer. Because I'm making this video, we need one real-world problem before we can be done. So in this real-world problem, Mr. Schmidt decided to buy his son, Corin, a new Minnesota Timberwolves onesie. When he went to the NBA store, the onesie was labeled as $55, but it was being sold for 60% of the labeled price. How much does the onesie cost? Well, of course, I have to add a little picture with me and Corin. If you've noticed, we have lots of Minnesota Timberwolves gear, but you can never have too much. And in order to solve this problem, we need to identify the keywords or phrases. The first thing that I hope jumps out at you is the jersey was originally $55. Now it is being sold for 60% of the original price. Well, we covered in the second slide of this video that percent of almost always means multiply. So we need to multiply 60% times $55. So just like we've done before, we're going to do 60% as a decimal. And then 55, as my friend 50 Cent would say here below, we are going to erase the decimal point and count 2 digits behind the decimal point total in our problem. And from here, we're going to multiply like we've done many times in this video. So I'm going to go just a little quick through it. I reinsert my decimal, and I know the onesie costs $33. If you don't get 3 out of 4 on the Edpuzzle video, there is a retake available. If you have any questions, please let me know.